Hey everyone, Ilia Malinin. Welcome to the official start of my YouTube channel. I am really looking forward to this because this is something that I have recently wanted to start and really pick up. It's been something on my mind for so many years and I really just never had the motivation or the time to really get it done. But now, after the Olympics, I really have sparked a new excitement for this, and I feel like this is something that would really make my younger self be proud of me for achieving this, finally becoming a content creator YouTuber. So in the end, this is like an official statement of starting a YouTube channel. So for all of you out there, I'm gonna need help with this because I'm very late on the trend and very late with everything. And I'm not really the best with tech, and yeah, I don't even know how to use the camera that I'm using for this, or the cameras. So in the end, this is just a fun, official start to a YouTube channel. If any of you guys have ideas for content you want me to make, or have any tips for how to make stuff very good quality, how to edit, and if you guys want to help me with that, I'll be totally up for that. So for all of you watching, thank you, and we'll see you guys with this new journey. Peace.
He didn't fall because he wasn't good enough. Everyone watching knew that. The judges knew that. Ilia Malinin, the man they call the Quad God, the first human being in history to land a quadruple axel in competition, fell twice on the Olympic ice in Milan and finished 8th, in a field he had dominated for 3 consecutive years. And when it was over, he walked up to the microphone and said 3 words: "I blew it." No excuses, no deflection, 3 words. But here is the question that stayed with me long after those 3 words faded, and the question that this entire video exists to answer. When the most technically dominant figure skater alive collapses under pressure at the exact moment he was supposed to be untouchable, what does that tell us about what pressure actually does to a human being? And what happened in the 6 weeks between that 8th place finish and the moment he stood, alone, at the top of the world again? That is what we're going to explore. Let me tell you who Ilia Malinin is, not through his medals but through his choices. He is 21 years old. He grew up on the ice because his parents, both Olympic competitors, built their lives there. He did not inherit a love of skating the way some children inherit a religion unexamined, automatic. He earned it through a training system that treated difficulty not as novelty, but as discipline. By the time most skaters his age were attempting their first quad, Malinin was already treating quads as grammar, the baseline language of a program, not the climax. In September 2022, he did something the sport had considered functionally impossible. He landed a quadruple axel in international competition, 4.5 rotations in the air. A jump that requires the skater to launch from a forward edge, the only jump in figure skating that does and complete more rotations than any other element in the sport. The figure skating world stopped. He was 17. What strikes me about that moment is not the jump itself, it is what he did afterward. He did not perform surprise. He did not look to his coaches with the face of someone who had just crossed a threshold. He landed, checked his footing, and kept skating, as if the jump had always been there, waiting, and he had simply arrived to collect it. That composure is not incidental to who Malinin is. It is the engine. And it is also, I think, exactly what failed him in Milan, and exactly what he had to rebuild in 6 weeks to win Prague. I want to be precise about what I observed in Milan, because I think the easy narrative he choked under pressure misses something important. When Malinin took the ice for the men's singles free skate, he was not a nervous skater. He was in times overloaded ×1. There is a difference. Nervousness is anticipatory. It lives in the future, in what might go wrong. What I saw in Malinin's body language before that program was something heavier. The weight of accumulated meaning. Every interview leading to those games had been about him. Every prediction. Every expectation had converged on that 2-minute, 50-second program. And somewhere in the space between the boards and the starting position, all of that meaning rushed in at once. He described it himself. Asterisk. I just had so many thoughts and memories flood right before I got into my starting pose, and almost I think it maybe overwhelmed me a little bit. Asterisk. That is not a confession of weakness. That is an extraordinarily precise description of what cognitive overload feels like in the body of an elite competitor. The mind, flooded with significance, loses its ability to do the one thing that makes Malinin exceptional: get out of the way and let the body perform what it has rehearsed 10,000 times. He fell on the quad lutes. He fell again shortly after. He scored 156.33, nearly 80 points below his world record free skate from December. The quad god had too many thoughts. Here is where the story becomes something more than a sports narrative. 6 weeks later, in Prague, Malinin won his third consecutive world championship title. He received the maximum +5 grade of execution on his short program step sequence from 8 of the 9 judges, a number he admitted he hadn't even known he'd achieved until reporters told him. He received 5 perfect 10s for program presentation in his free skate. Not for the jumps, for the times presentation. Asterisk, for the art. The man who had been so buried under technical expectation that he fell twice in Milan was now receiving perfect scores for how he felt times on the ice. I want to sit with that for a moment. What changed? He told us. After Prague, he said, asterisk, honestly, just not worrying about people's expectations or the pressure that people put on you, really just doing it for yourself. Asterisk. Simple sentence, enormous distance to travel. Because doing it for yourself truly, not as a mantra but as an operating reality, requires you to have dismantled something. It requires you to have looked at the structure of expectation you've been living inside, felt it collapse in the most public way imaginable, and then made a choice about what you're going to rebuild in its place. Malinin didn't just recover. He reconfigured. Asterisk. There is one detail from the weeks between Milan and Prague that I keep returning to. He almost didn't go. Malinin admitted that the Olympic loss nearly forced him to skip the World Championships entirely. He sat with that 8th place finish. He sat with the weight of it. And then he went. Not because he had something to prove, not for the record books. He went because, as he put it, he had learned something in Milan that he needed to use. He went to Prague to find out who he was when the meaning wasn't crushing him. And then, in his most recent Instagram post after winning, he wrote, "We made it. The 25-26 season has come to an end. It was a long, tiring, stressful season with many ups and downs that led me to reaching its end with success. Not triumph, not vindication." Asterisk. Success times delivered with the tone of someone who has walked a very long road and is simply glad to be standing at the end of it. That sentence is the whole story. Now I want to talk about something that happened after Prague. Something that, I think, is the most interesting data point in this entire narrative. Ilia Malinin started a YouTube channel. I know how that sounds. But hear me out. On the 11th of April 2026, he posted a video filmed on a camera he admitted he didn't know how to use, announcing that he was, at 21 years old, finally becoming a content creator. He said it was something he'd wanted to do for years but never had the motivation or the time. He said the Olympics had sparked something new in him. He said it would make his younger self proud. And then he asked his audience for help. The most technically dominant figure skater alive, the man who just won his 3rd world championship, asked the internet to teach him how to edit videos. I don't think that's cute. I think that's a man telling you, in the clearest possible terms, that he is entering a different phase of his relationship with himself. The Chaos God, his new self-chosen nickname, replacing Quad God, isn't rebranding, he's expanding. He is no longer content to be defined entirely by what his body can do on ice. He wants to be known for the rest of it too. The cats, the skateboarding, the DIY videos he watches on his days off, the games he plays, the person who exists between competitions. The YouTube channel is not a content strategy. It is a declaration of personhood. I think about what this moment means for figure skating as a whole, and for what we ask of the athletes we elevate. The sport has always demanded a particular kind of self-erasure. You become the program, you become the jump, you become the score. Your inner life is permitted only insofar as it serves the performance. Your emotions are choreographed, your expression is judged, your joy is quantified. For a skater like Malinin, who entered the sport's elite level as a technical prodigy, this erasure was almost complete. He was the quad god. The jumps were the story. Everything else was footnote. Milan cracked that open. And what came through the crack was not weakness. It was a person. A person who needs to skate for himself to skate well. A person who learned by failing publicly, at the worst possible moment, that the gap between skating under the weight of what everyone expects and skating because you love what skating is not a motivational concept. It is a measurable, competitive, physiological reality. The thoughts flood in, the body locks up, the jumps fall, or you clear the noise. You remember why you started. You land. I don't think Ilia Malinin has finished becoming who he is going to be. I think Milan was the end of the first chapter, and Prague was the first sentence of the second. And the YouTube channel awkward, earnest, asking for help is the first paragraph of something that has nothing to do with jumping. What I want to leave you with is a question without a clean answer. Is the pressure that broke Malinin in Milan the same pressure that made him extraordinary in the first place? Can you be the quad god? Can you push a sport past what anyone thought was possible? Can you carry the weight of an entire discipline's future on your skates without eventually paying the price of all that meaning? And if you survive paying it, do you come out the other side as something greater than what you were? He's 21, we don't know yet. But I think watching him laugh his way through a video he filmed on a camera he doesn't know how to use, asking strangers on the internet to teach him how to be a person outside the rink, I think the answer might be yes. If this kind of analysis is useful to you, if you want to go beyond the scores and sit with the human being behind the performance, subscribe. This is what this channel is for. And tell me in the comments, do you think what happened to Malinin in Milan was inevitable? Or do you think there was a version of that night where he cleared the noise, and if so, what would have had to be different? I want to know what you think. Before I go, there is one more thing worth talking about. Not facts, not confirmed news, just patterns, just what the evidence, read carefully, seems to be pointing toward. I want to be clear, none of what follows is confirmed. These are observations, inferences, the kind of reasonable speculation that comes from watching someone closely enough to notice when the pieces start to arrange themselves into a shape. The first thing I notice is that Malinin is currently on the Stars on Ice tour, traveling, performing, living inside the machinery of a show that runs through the end of May. And in his YouTube welcome video, he said he was going to need help, that he didn't know how to use his camera, that he was figuring it out as he went. That combination of circumstances, a tour already in motion, a camera already in his hands, an audience already asking for behind-the-scenes content points strongly in one direction. The easiest first series for this channel is not a talking head video, not a Q&A, not a gaming stream. It is footage of what he is already doing. The travel, the warm-ups, the moments between shows that no one outside the tour ever sees. If the first real series on this channel is a Stars on Ice documentary, informal, handheld, no production team, I would not be surprised. I would be watching immediately. The second pattern is smaller, more personal. He has talked about his two cats, Misty and Miu Miu, the way some people talk about their closest relationships. He said they turned his life around, that they are his therapy, that after the tour ends, the thing he is most looking forward to is going home and spending time with them. And in the comments of his welcome video, the single most requested content above Q&As, above gaming, above skating tutorials was cat content. I think the first video he makes that feels genuinely times him asterisk, unguarded, not performing for the camera but simply living in front of it, is going to involve two ragdoll cats who have no idea they're being filmed for an Olympic champion's YouTube channel. The third is larger and harder to read. He said carefully, deliberately, that he has projects this summer that are not just skating related, projects he will announce gradually in the off-season, projects he hopes will bring times another side of popularity to the sport. Asterisk. I have watched enough athletes navigate the post-Olympics landscape to recognize what that phrasing usually precedes. It usually precedes something with a production company behind it. A documentary, a series, a platform deal. The ISU just invented a new award specifically for him. His name recognition post-Milan, even after the 8th place finish, perhaps times, because times of it is at a level that makes him interesting to streaming platforms in a way that pure champions sometimes aren't. Redemption is a better story than dominance. A man who fell and came back is more watchable than a man who simply won. If there is a long-form documentary in development about this season, about Milan, about the 6 weeks, about Prague, about the Chaos God, I think we will hear about it before the year is over. The fourth, he is a gamer. He is Gen Z. He used to have a Twitch presence. His fan base skews young, international, and extremely online, exactly the audience that shows up for gaming content, for live streams, for the unscripted version of an athlete you've only ever seen in competition. Starting a YouTube channel is one thing, but YouTube has a live feature. And the gap between I'm going to post videos and I'm going to go live and just play something while people watch is, for someone his age, almost no gap at all. I think there is a real possibility that the version of Ilia Malinin his audience ends up knowing best is not the one on the ice. It's the one on stream, losing at whatever game he's playing, talking to chat at midnight. None of this is certain. All of it is plausible. And I think what makes it interesting is not the predictions themselves, but what they collectively suggest. Every single one of these possibilities points in the same direction, toward a person who is done being only one thing. The Quad God was a category. The Chaos God is a person, and a person, by definition, contains more than one story. He's figuring out how to tell the rest of them,